Welcome to another episode of Really 007 where we continue this series of James Bond Will Return, and it's been great so far. Thank you for joining us on this series. Whether you're listening on the podcast or watching us on YouTube, we are grateful that you're kind of giving us a try, listening to us on this journey with us as well, because the hype for Bond 26 is certainly building, and we aim to kind of give you up-to-date episodes as the news breaks, but as much as anything, we just enjoy hearing your feedback as well, and so we just encourage you to kind of find us on social media and follow us, chip in with comments, let us know what you think, and because really at this stage of play, it's all up for grabs with Bond 26, so please do follow us and comment on each of the posts that we do. So yeah, this series, James Bond Will Return, has marked the progress of it since the very dark days when pretty much nothing was happening, and now we're at a stage where everything seems to be being set up and set off, which is great. Do you want me to do my usual run through the episode names? Because this is episode 12, so it'll take about 12 seconds to go.
It's been a while, hasn't it? It's been a few months since.
Yeah, okay.
Can we have a bit of a guess?
Episode 1. Episode 1, Matthew, you want to name episode 1?
Yeah, I will, and I've forgotten it. Privileged position.
Privileged position.
Oh, yeah.
After that came number 2, which was
Eon and Amazon.
Yes, Tom. Yeah, Eon and Amazon. Yeah.
Oh, brilliant.
And then the third episode was not to do with much development. It was
Marketing.
Not quite. This is when we started. That's right, John. Non-negotiable.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So things weren't happening with it at that stage, but we still wanted to record because we were just kind of fantasizing about there being a Bond 26. Basically.
Yeah.
So we had an episode on non-negotiables, and Matthew Wright. The one that came after that was marketing, and we had David Zripsky on to talk about how you would market the next Bond. And then we had a 5th episode.
Was it the one where Villeneuve was?
No. So that didn't come for a long time, but it's linked to that. So before Villeneuve was
producers,
directors.
We had it right. Yeah.
We spoke about who we'd like to possibly see direct, and then we had on episode 6 we had Warren on. So that gives you a clue about what we were talking about. Warren Ringham came to talk about with us about the direction of music for Bond 26, because we kind of see that as an important thing. And then, just as we were sort of building our own hype of fantasy, there came episode number 7. Don't know if you remember the name. Episode number 7. Yeah.
With Julian.
Impasse, yeah.
Yeah.
Wasn't that this year?
It was right at the start of the year, I think.
No, it must have been last year.
I don't think so.
Oh, no, last year, yeah.
Yeah, of course, it was last year. Sorry.
But following the impasse, where there was frustration,
didn't it?
That was where there was like a public feud, pretty much, wasn't there?
Yeah.
Between
Content.
Amazon and then Eon and Amazon, and then following that, episode 8 was more positive. It was a new
era.
New era.
Nice.
And that was kind of the suggestion that Broccoli and Wilson are kind of no longer attached, and Amazon are going to be taking this forward. Just some facial expression.
Can't do this, you know. I'm joking.
Yeah. And then the 9th episode following that was actual confirmation of who will be taking this forward, who the new Broccoli and Wilson were, and it was a fairly standard title of episode number 9, just new producers, and that was Amy Pascal and David Heyman being unveiled. But then episode 10 became very specific because this, Rob, was when Villeneuve was, and we were pretty quick to kind of record something on this because it's probably the most substantial. Even though the producers are so important, this is a real sign that there's a vision, kind of. Because, Denis Villeneuve was chosen to be the director, so that was episode number 10. And then following that, it's the last episode we recorded, episode 11, and that was the next name to be attached, the next big name, which was not Stephen Brill, but Stephen Knight. When it was revealed that he would be writing. So the tapestry was really coming together in terms of who's directing, producing, and writing. And now we're up to episode 12, which is called The Leading Man.
Oh
um,
yeah, very good.
but just to confirm, we still don't know who that is,
No.
but there have been developments which start to get us thinking about who it might be. The way it's kind of been coming out, news, it kind of comes suddenly, doesn't it? Suddenly, I think it was last Thursday evening, pretty much when I was getting ready to go to bed. Suddenly, there's a screenshot being thrown around posted from Amazon MGM's social media, but also kind of in partnership with the 007 accounts, which is always nice to see, revealing like a kind of short quote about the casting of James Bond. And actually, I seem to remember after the episode about Stephen Knight, we were all fairly sort of almost convinced ourselves that they know who Bond is and we're going to be hearing any minute now. I don't know if you remember that. We got ourselves pretty excited. It did turn out to be probably wrong, which proves we certainly don't know everything. But I think that's how it should be, isn't it? I mean, we've got tidbits that we can work off, but the rest of it is kind of speculation and kind of filling in the gaps ourselves. Before we talk about what's going on, I do want to just say, and this might be kind of fly in the face of what this series is about because we're meant to be marking the progress. But is there something good, guys, about this stage now where we don't know stuff? Because do you think there'll come a point where we'll look back and think, oh, how exciting was that time where it wasn't all spelt out for us and we could kind of dream of this and come up with such and such ideas? Are you getting any joy from not knowing
Well,
stuff?
I think this is as privileged a position as, because you know that there's something happening and you know that there's like
Yeah,
elite filmmakers and writers and stuff involved. So there's this incredible, almost blank canvas. I've been watching films recently. I was watching The Running Man, the new Edgar Wright one, and I was thinking like there is a chance like Josh Brolin could be in it or something, like in a Bond film or something. I'm not that was just an example. I was thinking like I do think the world is more of the Bond world's oyster now, or I don't know. I feel like we are in a new era, and I'll be honest now. Like I I might have said this in previous episodes, in the last more recent episodes. When it was still under Eon, I was more of the feeling this has to go back to fun. We have to. That's what we have to, you know. And I do. That's what I would want now. But I feel like because we're in a different place with the filmmakers and everything, and we're in a new era, I don't think it's as necessary to do that. Even though that's what I would do, if that makes sense, if you know what I mean. I think demand.
Doesn't feel though.
I'm less demanding of what
Yeah.
decent filmmakers and writers should be doing.
I think I can. I think I've mentioned that as well. I've kind of as the developments have come in, I've changed my probably expectation of what could happen, and there was certainly a point where, being completely honest, I was fairly despairing about where it was in episode one of this series, and it just seemed so obvious that what they needed to do, if it was staying in Eon's hands, was return to the way Eon used to do things. That's what I wanted.
Mm.
But I do think the climate's changed a little bit now, given who's involved, and I don't just mean like the styles of Villeneuve and that. I mean that we've got like Heyman Pascal, new producers. It's two new people overlooking it with a whole grander vision that's different. So I don't think their sole motivation will be about going back to what worked. It'll be trying to find. Obviously, it will reflect that, and they'll want to build on that. But whereas I used to think they need to go back and kind of return to where they were, I think there's now a much more forward-looking sense, and in a positive way where they really love and cherish. And I feel like
Mm.
even though they'll be looking forward, I feel like they will absolutely prize this James Bond property.
It's not linked really, first light to the films, but I think that's done brilliantly, showing like traditional Bond.
Yeah.
It seems fun and energetic and everything, and not dark and gritty, but like traditional and the way people want to see Bond. I think that's like, well, this is what you want, isn't it, from a Bond adventure? Um, which I think is interesting.
I think they've illustrated shown that there's still massive global appetite for Bond.
Yes.
That's what First Light has shown, I think. It's also shown, I think, and this is coming from someone who's quite actively tried to avoid a lot of the stuff, but what I have seen seems to suggest that this is going to be entertaining and modern. It's going to bring a very modern spin on James Bond to show that it can be done and it doesn't have to be dour, or gritty or whatever. But I think there's I think you're
Is this
absolutely
First
right,
Light,
Harry.
Rob? Are you talking about First
Yeah,
Light?
First Light. Yeah, just showing because I think that means that I think the appetite for the movie has expanded because of First Light coming out as well. I think it was very easy for us to get very down about it because there was so much to be down about in the world, in what had happened. Bond was dead. There was no guarantees about Bond's future. There was no suggestion really that Bond would carry on apart from James Bond will return at the end, having just watched him get incinerated. It was all just so much to be unsure about. So I think now, now that we know things are moving, that there are things undisputedly happening behind the scenes, I think then there is an element of excitement about the unknown because there is a guarantee it's happening. Whereas earlier in the past, the idea of we don't know anything, I took no joy in that whatsoever because honestly, I was so despairing after that last movie and also didn't really know if anything was coming back and we didn't know that who was going to be taking the franchise forward. So now, we are in a much more
and adding to that, whenever it would get brought up,
position.
Broccoli and Wilson would pretty much say, we're not.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
There was no sense of
what.
There's no sense of
we're really at the beginning, and
so.
we've got to reinvent it for the future, and so that's going to take some time, and we won't start casting until we kind of have a sense of what we're planning to do.
It's the opposite, actually, I'd say. It's gone from knowing that they weren't doing anything and sort of hoping they were to knowing they are doing something and hoping not to find out any spoilers. Almost.
I mean, Tom, so to come to you as well, would you, I'm just thinking in years to come, would you like to bottle up this moment now and just in years to come when we've got everything, just go back to this period, which could well be one of the last times in our lives where Bond is in this situation where it's such a blank canvas. Are you enjoying this period right now?
I'm loving it. Yeah, I think because of what Rob said as well, the game has helped. Bond. I think Bond now. I can talk to it with our nephew Sam. He knows Bond anyway, but now the game is on his radar before anything else. Before No Time to Die and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So Bond is a positive force once more in the media. And of course, these last few years, they've kept saying who's going to be the next Bond as soon as Daniel Craig announced he was going to leave, even before the film came out. So, I as a Bond fan growing up, we always knew who Bond was, didn't we? There was period. There's never been a period like this where we've had no Bond and we don't know what that future holds. We've just been like, I know there's the period between License to Kill and GoldenEye, but that was a legal thing. Tim was still Bond. It was only just Brosnan took over. It was all done quickly. They moved on. But it's been the last 10 years of Daniel Craig's reign. It's been, will he do another one? Will they do another one unless he says they will? Almost holding it to ransom, really, in terms of when they get the films out. Now he's gone, and there's been no appetite, like you said, from Eon. It's like the series. I've made this point so many times, but we celebrated 60 years of Bond. But no, when we celebrated that, it ended 2 years ago. Before that, as far as I was concerned, it ended in 2021. Unless you're going to do something, we've no evidence that Eon would have done anything. So that's my point of that. It's true. So we now have an active franchise. And they're doing exactly what I want. In terms of your question, Harry, yes, I'm loving this moment, as Mourinho would say. But I'm not going to be like, as soon as they name a Bond and then it wasn't quite who I wanted. No, I don't want that attitude. I think you get behind your manager. It's the same the same thing, isn't it? Yeah, because we haven't seen whoever this is. We've not seen them as Bond, and I've got to give them a chance. We know that all these things have been going on behind the scenes. How exciting to think of that, that the producers, Denis Villeneuve, Stephen Knight, have been having these gorgeous chats. Who
Yeah.
they want. It's so exciting. And I'm glad I don't know enough about it at the moment.
Yeah, totally agree. John, enjoying life?
I don't know what to think of it all, really. Sorry, I sound a bit negative.
No, no.
I'm probably a bit fatigued by how long this, not just this process, because I know that things are happening now, but the fact that we are really, 2021 was no time to die. Absolute nadir of the whole James Bond franchise ever. Saw it this lull. And then you go through these range of emotions where you were hoping that pretty much every single James Bond day in October they were going to announce who the new James Bond was, and it never came. And it's
Yeah.
been a long process. And even then you've got Amazon take over and this hope, and Amazon are clearly throwing everything at this and doing this right. But I suppose that even that takes time, and rightly so. It has to, because it needs to be got right. But as a consumer, I'm a bit like, yeah, it's easily going to be 2028 before we get a film, and I'm just thinking I need to pace myself here.
Yeah.
And because I know it's all going on in the background, I think the game coming is the absolute saving grace of things for me. And I think that I'm very confident that once Amazon have got everything in place, and you've seen that first film, you are never going to have a moment like this again. I think that you will have a consistent flow of films, and you'll have a foundation to build on. And it's a blank canvas that has never been there before, and that is amazing. I think what you're going to get from this next film is a brilliant film. I don't think there is any way, any shape or form that this is not going to be a brilliant film. You cannot put all these amazingly talented people together and not get a brilliant film. I think it's going to be one of the most popular James Bond films ever. It's a weird thing to say this, but I think that the people who are going to be hardest to get on board are the actual Bond fans
Yeah,
themselves.
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
And I think we have to prepare ourselves that this may not be Bond as we know it. And we have to prepare ourselves for that. But this is a new era. It's a complete new era with new ideas. And to be honest, I'm willing to give that a go, even if I don't know what it's going to look like, because where that previous era ended up, I just can't abide by. So I'm all for it. But I don't want to bottle this up and think, I can't wait for this to happen again. I want to move forward and go,
Oh,
thank you
yeah.
for what they have done from that.
Superb. So, and very like thoughtful and wise, John, because genuinely it has been a mixed up period and a difficult period, especially for Bond fans with so much emotion attached. But yeah, thank you for. I just wanted to chat about this period now. But anyway, let's go on to the actual crux of this episode, and it was all inspired by what came out on Thursday night. So when, like I said, a statement was released on social media from Amazon MGM Studios, which I'm going to read to you now, and it simply said, "The search for the next James Bond is underway. While we don't plan to comment on specific details during the casting process, we're excited to share more news with 007 fans as soon as the time is right." So that's what came out, and when that was shared in our group, I think there's really a sense of excitement, a bit of a buzz. Even though it doesn't tell you anything specific, it does tell you it does tell you some stuff. You can get some stuff from this, but I do think perhaps there were portions of the fan base who were like, right, I thought we were already underway with the search for.
Yeah, Roger Moore's Chiswick Roundabout.
Yeah, yeah. Before we go into sort of thinking about who might well be James Bond, the first thing maybe to talk about is, what does this signify to you? The fact that they're releasing this statement now, where do you think that shows that they're up to in the pre-production? Because I think for me, that's what excites me. They must have decided, right, we're in a position to say, because they've just let us talk for a while. They've just let the media speculate, but they've come out and something's prompted them to say, right, the search is on. What do you think it is that's prompted this statement?
I don't want to jump in out of turn or anything like
Do
that, but I
no one
think
else was, Rob.
I might have a slightly. Yeah, I did wait a second and
Who
see if
won it?
anyone would speak, but yeah, no one wanted it. I think all sorts of things about this. I actually think behind the scenes, and my take is just a take. It's probably baloney. But then again, we're just talking about movies, aren't we? So it doesn't really matter. I think they're much further along behind the scenes than they actually are. I really do think they are. I think Bond is already nailed on, but I think they've realised. I think that there is serious appetite here. There's speculation, and I think they're using this. They've been quite clever about it. James Bond is the phrase. James Bond is a very broad umbrella phrase for all sorts, and it can include all the peripheral people involved in a James Bond movie, including the characters. This is a casting director that's come on that is on board who will be in charge of casting the entire movie. I think there's a thinly veiled suggestion to that actually in this statement. I think if I was writing Bond 26 in Stephen Knight's shoes, I'd want a flavour of who was going to play the character. Everyone works in their own way, but I'd want at least a direction so that you could tailor certain aspects to that particular actor. I would want to eliminate all chances of failure, and one of those for me would be that. Um,
Mm.
I think they've realised, and I think they've seen that. What I think this is actually building to, I think this is another very, very intelligent, clever marketing step to whet appetites. I think actually, and I might be totally wrong, but I think that First Light, has been brilliant for them in testing the waters, re-energizing sort of interest. And I think the marketing teams for that might well be working in tandem with Amazon's marketing teams. Remember, James Bond is a huge global umbrella, and the rights all stop in different places. But if they are working in tandem to an extent, I think this has been masterfully played, to be honest, because they've allowed the casting of Patrick Gibson to come out. When we were all talking about the movie stuff, Patrick Gibson was announced, and everyone's been very interested in that. And I actually think that this is going to lead to an incredible announcement, the kind of announcement, that they are going to. Do you remember Brosnan's announcement in that trailer? I think we're going to get something like that. I think we're going to get something really special here. And I think this is just a marketing stepping stone towards that. I think behind the scenes, they're way further on. I think they know locations of the movie already. I think they're already scouting these locations. I think casting is far further on than we think, not just for James Bond, but for the whole lot. And I think, whether this is wishful thinking on my part, and maybe just thinking like they can't possibly need all this time, could they? To do this, because I desperately don't want to go backwards here. I don't want to go back to. So the question you're asking about, do you want to bottle this period up? Not really. No, I want to I want to know what we're doing, and I want to know that James Bond has got a future, and I want to know that it's in the right hands. And for everything I'm seeing at the moment, illustrates that point.
A more advanced answer than I was thinking. Does anyone think that? Because if I give my opinion, I guess like for me, I suppose my first initial conclusion would be that right, so now they know what they're looking for. That indicates that Stephen Knight's story is written.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And maybe we'll go on to it later. They know the era it's going to be set in, so they know what they're looking for now, as an example. So that was my instant reaction. But then, kind of, I thought to myself, and then hearing you, Rob, say that, part of me is thinking it'd be quite risky to announce when you're starting the search because then you don't want people to know your timeline. You
Yeah.
don't want people to know, oh, they've been searching now for 6 months and we've not heard anything. It's. I think. I think there could be something in what you're saying, Rob, in terms of it would be quite a risky thing for a business of any kind to reveal
Yeah.
so widely that they're starting the search and then they've got millions of people watching as they search. I don't think that's too wise. And you might think, well, you know, how can they have appointed already? Because Stephen Knight's, he's only just got the gig. But again, it goes back to that, well, we've only just found out that he's got the gig. That might have been, all these things might be, we might be finding out all these things 2 months later than they're happening, for example. So, I think it's very possible what you're saying, Rob. and the timescale of things that we're seeing, these milestones, I think it is plausible that we are being given them after the fact, if that makes sense. I don't know what other people think.
I agree. I agree. I think it's perfectly wise. These are you're talking very, very wealthy, very, very studious people who know what they're doing, and for them to make an announcement like that, everything that they announce is calculated. So yeah, I totally agree. I think they either know who they want or it's already sorted. I do think that, and I think that this is probably a build up to an announcement for when Villeneuve's free, so we can say, "This is who Bond is." Filming starts X, Y, Z, and I do think that it's very exciting, very, very exciting.
Harry, can I just check what? Can you just say the wording of the announcement
Yes, I
again?
can. Yeah, yeah, of course. The search for the next James Bond is underway. So
Yeah, right. Yeah,
that's
yeah.
is that
So that's what I wanted to know because
it's
I was
not
just double
start
checking it
on.
wasn't. We are now starting
Yes, yeah.
the
Yeah,
It's
search
not actually. It
for,
could
is
technically like
underway.
we
It
didn't
doesn't
lie.
it
We
doesn't
didn't
tell you
lie.
when it
Yeah,
was when it
yeah, yeah.
started.
yeah.
So yeah, I think it's kind of what the guys have been saying. It's cleverly worded. Um, I don't know. It might be that they've got the person or they've got it down to the final two or three. I'm absolutely safe and secure that in terms of the process, they know what they're doing. I think we'll come on to who they choose and who I would choose or who any of us would choose are completely aligned. That's a different conversation, but I definitely think they're doing this really well. And you know, I think I said in a previous, I can't remember which episode it was, but I said about I've got images of like the new Bond, like a huge banner, or I think again possibly I said this when the new um, Superman film was released at the cinema. There was a crisp, I think above Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, like a crisp mannequin of Superman, like
Yeah, yeah.
being suspended above and if they can do that for one of the worst films that I've ever watched,
Yes, yeah.
and watched the first halves of,
Yeah.
then just imagine what they can do for Bond. No, seriously, that sort of thing, that marketing,
Yeah.
and it being in a different place, and hopefully not just Bond in a dinner jacket like this, or like this or something, as we were left with in the last few films, but like
You'd
incredible,
have to
like
watch the YouTube video for those.
generational images that you'll remember.
Hmm.
It's so exciting. It really is, and I think this announcement is in line with that. That clever, John said, Rob said, clever marketing strategy, and knowing where they are and what they're doing and when they're doing it.
So kind of to back that up, and I'll come to you in a moment, Tom, for your point of view. The end of this recent statement is we're excited to share more news with 007 fans as soon as the time is right. And that kind of mirrors a little bit what happened about a month ago at CinemaCon when
Yeah.
Courtney Valenti made an appearance and took some questions a little bit about the progress of Bond. And we've not done an episode about that. But I will tell you that quote, when she was asked kind of on the spot, she gave a small update. She said, "We're taking the time to do this with care and deep respect. It is the dream of a lifetime for all of us to bring audiences this next chapter, and it's a responsibility we don't take lightly. What I can tell you is this: when you pair one of the most beloved franchises in history with a world-class filmmaking team, including the brilliant director Denis Villeneuve, extraordinary producers Amy Pascal and David Heyman, executive producer Tanya Lapointe, and screenwriter Stephen Knight, you're setting the stage for something that's truly worthy of the Bond legacy. That film is coming, and when the time is right, we'll have much more to share." So the reason I'm coming back with that quote from a month ago is because it kind of repeats itself in this official statement where it says, "We'll share more news with 007 fans as soon as the time is right." Tom, what are you thinking about kind of the timings and what we're being fed?
I'm glad you read that out again because I was going to raise it, and actually reading that back now, it means a lot more than it did at the time. Because
Mm,
of course they have these things quarterlies, don't they, where investors and people want to know, come on, what's going on? We've put loads of money into your company. We know that there's going to be a Bond film made. We need to hear some progress on it. That's basically saying it's sorted, lads. Don't worry about it. But
yeah,
we
yeah,
will announce it at a convenient time for us and in terms of marketing as well.
Hmm.
So I like George Savvy and people like that will know a lot more about the Star Wars the rebirth of Star Wars, with Disney took over. They had that picture, didn't they? Overhead picture of them all the people involved. And there was a massive casting call, wasn't there? An open casting call
Yeah.
for, was it the part of Ray? But I can't possibly.
No, it ended up being small.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, right.
Yeah, that you wouldn't know.
No,
But
but
it was
anyway,
still, it was a.
it was in public, wasn't it?
Yeah.
All that was in public. I think they're trying to imagine if the press got whiff that people were going for auditions for James Bond.
Hmm.
I don't even know where this would be. I'm sure because it's Amazon, they know that they don't have to just, it's got a bit of Pinewood and things like that. I think they'll try and have talks, and they might have already had little audition pieces or little conversations with people where they are rather than you come to Pinewood or you come here. So they've got that advantage. I think they wouldn't release a statement like that unless, like you say, John, they would be nearly there. Like there's always contract negotiations, aren't there? Fury Joshua. They thought it was
Hmm.
announced, and then not quite dotted line. No spoilers. Oh, we've already said it now, and all that sort of stuff. There's a bit of marketing that has to go on because they'll want to get it absolutely. They can't have any leaks on this because I do think so many things are leaked these days, aren't they? Just had Pep Guardiola. Maybe that was tactical. We don't know. Some of them are tactical leaks, aren't they? To get out and try and put off Arsenal, maybe that sort of stuff. But others, particularly like Bond, it's not a good look. I don't think if something this big leaks.
Yeah.
So far, there's been rumours for each appointment, other than Stephen Knight. I don't think I can't remember anyone mentioning his name until at Villeneuve. There was a couple, not really.
Well,
Pascal
for
and
Villeneuve,
Hayden
wasn't
was
it
a
like
bit.
for Villeneuve? Was it that there were 6 or something directors who'd
Oh
given their
yes,
pitches?
yeah.
Was he one of them?
Yes, but again, we don't know
Yeah.
how much of that is true.
Hmm.
I do think now that there will have been these meetings which I've mentioned. I think definitely they'll know the direction because we were told, weren't we, in that math that certain directors pitch certain
Yeah.
ideas for where the franchise should go. So they're obviously thought, right, well, Denis Villeneuve is the best one. So they're already a step ahead. They're not wait until Stephen Knight's got some ideas. They're
Yeah.
going into Stephen Knight saying, this is what we want. Can you write a script around all that? And I think a problem a lot of Bond fans have got is they keep expecting it to be done in the same routine as Eon have done it. Like, oh no, this has to happen and all that, and then they'll bring more writers in to change the script. Well, not. Don't think Stephen Knight co-writes an awful lot, and Denis Villeneuve will have a hand in the script probably. I'd be surprised if they got even one more. They might have one more. Don't worry, not Purvis and Wade, but
Yeah, but no, someone to come in and do a rewrite rather than.
yeah, but even that, I don't know. I think that's usually a sign, isn't it, of like a studio interfering. But the studio are running it. The
Yeah.
studio have said, we want you, and then you team up, and we're with you along the way. So yeah, and then of course Nina Gold, which you'll come on to, Harry. That again, that's not been announced, has it? There's been no formal announcement. I think it's just like a sort of route through with the news that the statement was made. It's another babyish. She's quite famous, casting director, but that's what we want, isn't it? And yeah, I think you're right, Rob. I think maybe we're going beyond just let's just cast Bond and then we'll worry about everything else. I think in the round they're probably getting the Scooby Doo gang and all that sorted as well. I don't know. I'm only guessing here, of
Yeah,
course, like everybody else.
I think that a load of behind the scenes footage for the bonus edition DVD is already being filmed right
Oh,
now. I do. I think
Oh.
loads of it's already been committed to
Like the
hard
first
drive.
meetings.
I
and
really
stuff like
do.
that.
Like because I think like if you think about it, like how much the internet and social media landscape has changed since the announcement of a last James Bond.
yeah.
Like this is going to be all over it. It's going to be all over it. It's going to be content for days all over the place.
I want
about this.
books. I want films.
I want books. I want news. I want TV. So really weird, aggressive voice.
So angry, Carver.
Yeah, really botched it. So I think that loads of this, like the actor, himself, has already filmed himself possibly signing the contract, and the hugs with Villeneuve's already happened, or
Oh,
all this, because that's what people are going to want to see. They're going to
Yeah.
want to see the behind the scenes of all this. The audition
an
tapes will
historic
already
moment,
be
isn't
out
it?
there.
They
It's
will be
massive. It's
recording.
absolutely huge. It's totally huge. I'd like to. I've got a question for you guys, actually. I think this is a good time to ask it, if that's all right. Before we get talking about names or anything like that, but it's like, how do you personally envisage you finding out who the next James
Oh,
Bond is going to
wow.
be? Because I actually think
that.
we might have the title at the same time.
okay.
Yeah, that's
Well,
Matt.
what I think seems to happen with is, well, this isn't maybe what you're asking, but I'll wake up, or maybe wake up at 3 a.m, as I sometimes do, and then I'll check my phone and it's like
There.
everything's there.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
that, and the good thing about that is it's come as a surprise both time with like Villeneuve's been announced, like whoa, Stephen Knight,
yeah.
like out of the blue, like whoa. So that's how I picture it will happen. But is
Yeah.
that not quite what you were you asking?
Well,
were
No,
you
it
asking?
is.
No,
It
but
is
like-
literally
Right.
The
you
opposite to that.
Like a
personally.
trailer though, or something.
The opposite to that,
Yeah.
Matt, is that we do get a teaser of an announcement or a countdown,
Yeah.
or some kind of clue. A
Yeah,
date.
yeah.
A date is put on the official
Yeah,
channels.
that'd be good. Yeah, with the rolling, countdown.
I think
double O.
I'm hopeful that it can't just be a worded statement of who's James Bond. It'll have to come with an image of some kind,
Yeah.
image or video.
That's what I mean.
Because
I
they've
think
managed to do
it'll
it
be
before.
video.
So
Well, they'll do a press conference. They've always done a press conference. I know there's no rules anymore, but I think it would be a massive event. I always think, obviously, everyone thinks of Craig on the Thames. I think more like Michael Jackson's statue on the Thames.
yeah. Yeah.
Oh dear.
No,
mate.
but you're right.
This is it.
Some kind of live location.
Yeah.
That would be a nice way to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, even I
A
know
location
we
from
already
the
knew
movie.
it was him. I think then, didn't we? We already knew it was Daniel Craig, but it was like, whoa, he's meeting. We're doing this now.
I mean,
It could happen like that.
you'd hope, or you'd think there would be some link to Amazon Prime.
Yeah.
Like Amazon Prime kind of, I don't know, release or
First
some.
dibs.
Yeah.
The loyal customers. Yeah.
Not necessarily you'd have the announcement, but then surely maybe if it's just a 10-minute kind of intro, or you've surely got to be linking into your media streams, haven't you?
And given all the news outlets that will be reporting on, they would want some kind of new footage, some kind of new image, wouldn't they?
Yeah.
Absolutely. There'll be a huge media pack and press pack attached to this. It won't just be, I think there'll be, so I think I think I'll get BBC News will, bing on my phone, and it will just say, so, it'll, yeah.
That's phone.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it will just say X cast as new James Bond in,
Whoa.
and I think that's what will happen. And then it will be like suddenly grabbing the phone and pressing, and then there'll be all sorts. What I'd love as well, though, John, just to jump on that, is if like when you've got your Prime app on your TV, on your smart TV, if like you went onto Prime one day and it had like that 007 lettering, but ticking down,
Whoa.
Yeah. Wow.
Like
where they have the adverts for the Champions
Chris
League.
Jericho, when Chris Jericho was
Exactly.
Whoa.
And then like if you were to be there, and we could all plan to be in front of the screen at that moment, and then if it's then like, because then every Prime could go, if you're on that menu screen,
they'd get some customers, wouldn't they? They'd get some new customers, people signing up. Of course they would,
It could go like and reveal, like that's how you could actually get that Pierce Brosnan reveal moment, like the trailer.
Tom Holland, like.
But that's how you could keep it a secret. That's how you could do a massive visual global reveal. Oh dear, could you imagine?
I think that's genius, Rob. I really do.
But again, like that's what, because they've got this platform.
Yeah,
they've got the platform. They're in everyone's living rooms. You could just do this. You could just do it. You could even put it on. Like all you need to do is download the app. You don't even need to get Prime.
Like when
you don't
U2
need to
released
get
that
Prime
album,
Video.
and everyone got offended that it was sent to everybody on Apple.
Yeah. I don't want this trash.
Yeah, it's free. You don't have to play it.
Yeah.
So
that's the only way in this day and age I think you could envisage it. You're not going to just go, everyone come to Instagram at 6 p.m. local time or whatever, right?
No.
So if you had it on there and then released an hour later on social media.
Yeah, there'd be a warning probably. But I because I thought maybe the news wouldn't have come out how it has so far. I'm slightly reticent because I'm slightly worried it'll be like Matt says and it'll just be an announcement. That's all right if there's been no spoilers.
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah,
like that.
Yeah,
But and then of course the big
yeah,
thing will be we've pre-recorded and we've got loads of footage and we're going to meet him here. Because I don't. It's probably too big a thing to say. There's a press conference at 10 a.m. The new Bond is here. You don't know who he is.
yeah,
That would be very difficult to do. It's possible. Yeah, I mean, I'd have loads of create. I would want to do something really creative, like Rob said. I think they could
yeah,
do that. I think they could have somehow, when we're a bit further on as well, a bit like Christopher Nolan does, they could have little preview before in IMAX screens, things like that.
mm,
That wouldn't be for the unveiling. Uh, Not just like he's on the one show tonight, lads.
yeah,
No, it needs to be quite a big thing. You're right, and you've got to look at how other franchises done it. But the thing with the other franchises are they're all the franchises, the popularity, not a particular, not one character who the whole thing's about.
Mm,
So it's not like, oh, there's a new Luke Skywalker being unveiled,
yeah.
is there, or anything like that. Superman's a good one, but because of all the messing
Yeah.
about with
No one
Hollywood,
speculates about any role like they do for
no,
James
no,
Bond.
this is obvious, and it's in the news, isn't it?
Yeah.
This announcement was a BBC News headline
yeah.
feature.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just this announcement. So yeah, I do think it'll come very unexpectedly, and then there'll be a huge wave of loads of stuff to get excited about. And yeah, and going back to that whole, do you like this period of not knowing? I love this period of, oh yeah, Villeneuve, oh Stephen Knight, oh
Yes, getting surprises.
I love it's being drip fed because soon then it'll be on like, oh, they've been filming in Philippines or something. You get whiff of that. And
whoa,
then,
Wow.
oh, so and so has been cast as the villain. You're like, oh my good, it's
Yeah.
excitement,
yeah.
build and build.
All news are stocking fillers.
I think
Yeah, yeah,
what we don't want, and I don't think this will happen, is yeah, like the spoilers. A bit like, I mean, it's not the same thing, but like Arsenal, Sky Sports understand that Arsenal will table a £40 million bid for such and such, and
yeah.
Sky Sports News, sources understands that this will be rejected. Like, why are any of you bothering, and why do we all know this? This shouldn't, like I want, yeah, I think. I want it to be a surprise, but then I do want that big
Yeah,
announcement, and what an opportunity, the marketing and everything, and oh,
yeah,
I think there's so much potential, and some of the things you guys have said have got me even more excited.
I think to avoid spoilers, because obviously everyone has a phone these days and can take photos, something along the lines of what Rob's saying, something that's pre-recorded that no one
yeah,
could have possibly seen. Obviously, you could reveal someone on the Thames or whatever, but someone would get a photo on the phone before, and do you know what I mean, of an actor turning up when they know there's going to be an announcement. If you see Jacob Elordi by the Thames, you think, right, that's it. Do you know what I mean? That's it.
Hear loads of our other episodes on iTunes, Spotify, and our YouTube channel, where we have interviews, special episodes, and reviews of all the Bond films. So simply search Really 007 Pod, and you should find loads of weird and wonderful content.
Progress onto thinking a little bit. Well, I was going to say onto facts, kind of what we know. Like Tom said, the name Nina Gold has been attached, not officially by any Amazon MGM statement, but it came through not long after at all. And there was an article on Variety that kind of confirmed, kind of pretty much, that Nina Gold is this person who's been chosen as she's been cast as the casting director. Yeah, she's been chosen to be the casting director. And if I just read you a little excerpt from that article about Nina Gold. Gold didn't respond to a request for comment, but a source with knowledge of the production confirmed her involvement. Her enlistment in the 26th James Bond makes sense. Gold understands the complexities of big franchises and is best known for filling out the world of Westeros on HBO's Game of Thrones. Her credits include the Netflix series The Crown, as well as 5 films in the Star Wars franchise. The latter gig saw her cast Daisy Ridley as Rey in The Force Awakens. Gold's credits also include Les Miserables, The Martian, and Conclave. She was nominated for an Oscar for her work on Hamnet in 2025, the first year that the Academy had an award for casting. So, yeah, that's a bit of background on Nina Gold, and seems to be pretty much suggesting that it is indeed her who's going to be this casting director. Any thoughts on her?
The amount of times you see, in credits,
Yeah.
casting by Nina Gold, PGA, and then music by Hans Zimmer. It's always one after the other. We don't, it's quite a mysterious part of filmmaking, isn't it? Casting like that, because you assume the big roles are cast by the director or the producers and things like that. For things like Game of Thrones, though, and The Crown, those are massive. That's a massive job, isn't it? So to come into that I mean, she's probably one of the most experienced there is. We knew that Debbie McWilliams had sort of called her in her retirement, so we knew that there was an open role. Yeah, and I think a bit like what we've been saying about the other things, I don't think she'd come into it until it was absolutely right. The script is done, there's at least fragments of the script. Why would you get your casting director in with nothing? You wouldn't, would you? You'd have to be a fair bit along the way. I mean, maybe I'm wrong in this, but it's not just casting Bond based on a paragraph of someone's idea. She'll come in further along the way, I think. So that again, I'm pretty excited that this is not just casting James Bond. This is casting everybody.
Yeah, I mean, we've said all along, or Tom, we want the best in class, or
Simon Jordan, yeah.
and certainly, I think she would appear to be that. But yeah, you're right. That I mean, casting Bond is obviously, the biggest. Obviously, it's the biggest thing, but there is so much more that will be going with that, and who they cast as Bond might have an effect on who they therefore cast as the villain, or certainly like the female lead,
Yeah.
and potentially some of those bigger roles, MQ, Moneypenny, if they go with them. It's exciting, and again, it's another thing that this is happening. There's another cog in place, or there's another piece of the puzzle, So yeah, it's exciting, and they've got seemingly one of the biggest names in casting.
I echo Matt's thing that I think that the position of Nina Gold, to me, highlights to me that Bond is sorted, because I think that Bond is sorted because that's a sustainable, like, long-term appointment. And then what you are doing is what Matt said about you are casting people around that character, and I think that is where Nina Gold is coming in. I think she's obviously, of course, she's had a say with regards to the Bond casting, but I do think that she will have a more bigger say now with regards to those characters based around Bond.
The thing that kind of might contradict that slightly, and again, if that's true, if it's true, is the only quote we've got from Nina Gold, which appeared on Deadline more latterly, maybe only a day or two ago, is where she's supposedly said that the next James Bond has got to ooze sex appeal.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Quote. They also wanted them to be old enough to play 3 or 4 more pictures, and actually, that doesn't really contradict what you're saying. She could just be commenting on who they've appointed.
Yeah. That's all we could say.
Yes, but I mean, even that to me is great.
Yeah. I think as well. Again, it's really clever wordplay they're using. They're not telling any lies. If it's all sewn up and done, they've not lied about anything. But I think you're absolutely right. If they're casting other roles, then I think the script must be there and thereabouts locked in. I hadn't thought about that. I think it was you said that, John, once, that if right, we're going to cast other people in these roles now. Well, those roles must have been written and rewritten and redrafted and firmed down and done the round table and all that kind of stuff. If you're even going to think about hiring someone to play him. So yeah, again, I think we're so much closer. So I actually think we're going to end up with they'll do First Light will come out, and then 2 weeks after First Light, they'll start teasing a reveal. Because I think they'll keep like when the appetite's high and everyone's still buzzing about Bond, and Bond's still in the public consciousness, I think they'll capitalise on it.
Wow.
I mean,
Again, I might have just spoke pure baloney all night. But...
Episode 13, Impasse. Yeah.
Yeah. Pass.
I mean, I do think we have to have that attitude of kind of what we've concluded so far is that we are at least 2 steps behind what's going on, aren't we? Like Rob's trying to kind of anticipate what's really going on and what is to come. I mean,
just excitement. That's all it is.
Yeah.
Following Nina Gold being attached to the project, some names did then start getting floated around. The first one I think that got floated around was a chap called, and this is separate to some of the more well-known names that have been in the offing up to now. A new chap called Tom Francis. His image came out, and that was through Variety. And the suggestion was that he has auditioned. Again, might not be a lie. He's not someone I'm familiar with. And then there was suggestions of actor Cosmo Jarvis being linked, but he's denied that. We've not really heard much about that. And I think even for me, this suggestion of Tom Francis, I think clearly Variety have been given that as a throwaway. As in, you that's not how you would unveil the nation. And Variety are a trusted source, obviously. So it feels like Amazon MGN, if he has auditioned, which might be true, they've given that one to Variety.
Yeah, he's definitely not got it, basically.
Yes, which obviously leaves speculation wide open. And
so harsh on him.
I know,
You know, like, just give them Tom Francis. Oh, right, okay.
But speculation is wide open. It has been for years, though, and funnily enough, despite this recent development, some of those same names that have been circulating for the last 2 years are still circulating.
Yeah.
So the main ones of those, perhaps most recently, Jacob Elordi, he's still a front runner. I mean, there's a whole list of people like Callum Turner and people like that. Harris Dickinson, he's another name. Jack Loudon. Yeah, there's even a bit, and this is only on social media, I think, but even people still kind of thinking, could Henry Cavill fit this description? Could he fit the project? So we just don't know fully. But rather than us kind of speculating on who it could be, because at this stage it really could be anyone, someone known or someone unknown. My first question for you guys is: do you reckon it's going to be someone famous? Do you think it's going to be someone we already know?
I think there's different levels of famous. So I don't think it will be an absolute renowned stalwart name who's been in Hollywood a long time like Henry Cavill. I think it could be someone who in the last year or so or a couple of years has just been emerging as someone famous who like riding that wave of popularity and they can basically go on that more and do that. So that's my personal view.
I mean, Jacob Elordi, most people on the Clapham Omnibus wouldn't know who that was. Obviously, he is famous for film goers and younger people, maybe. And if you've seen those films he's been in.
Yeah.
But because he's so different in absolutely everything he's been in, as far as I know, people won't even realise he's the same person who's in Frankenstein, who's in Wuthering Heights,
Yeah. I think it's that kind of level you'll find. I think Callum Turner also does fall into that category as well. It's nothing to do with any kind of speculation of it, but he's also famous because of his famous girlfriend as well.
Yeah.
And they're seen as this kind of couple. So that shouldn't come into the equation at all. But it is that case of he's known for more than just his acting, isn't he?
I think you're right. I don't think it'll be someone like Ben Francis, who you've never heard of, and it's just so random.
Tom Francis.
Tom Francis, sorry. Well, there you go. Yeah.
Lee Francis.
Franny Lee.
Yeah. Kevin Francis. Yeah. But yeah, I think it will be someone in between. It won't be. It's very rarely someone really famous, like really, really famous. Because like Daniel Craig wasn't super duper famous, was he? He was,
Yeah.
relatively,
I think I agree with you, but I wondered if the Amazon MGM's influence would change how
Yeah,
their
it's
outlook
true.
might be different.
And Villeneuve, like his films have all got an A-list actor, haven't they? In all the they are, aren't they? In every single one of his films, the lead
Yeah,
actor, very famous,
Yeah.
big name. Even if he doesn't want them, the studio might insist on it. I don't think that is the case with him. But like the Dune cast is a who's who, isn't it? Of who's hot right now, really, isn't it?
Was Chalamet though at the first time he was first cast not enormous? He was like up and
No, but I
coming,
mean
wasn't he?
he'd been Oscar nominated a few, and in quite a few films, and he was young.
Hmm.
But yeah, as in for someone who was meant to be that age.
Yeah. Well, you're right though about the ensemble.
Yeah.
That,
So, but again, we're still speculating here. I think James Bond's different though. I do think it is different
Yeah.
because the role is so famous. You can afford not to name the most famous person in
yeah,
the world. I
Yeah.
suppose with Superman they've done it, haven't they? They've done it with Brandon Routh, Christopher Reeve at the time. They did it, and of course David Corenswet. No one knows who he is. I've not heard any other films that he's been in, but it was accepted, wasn't it? So he's not bad in it. He's not the worst thing in it by a mile. But part of me, as I said, Amazon want best in class. That doesn't seem to apply though with films these days. Like Marvel, they don't always cast a famous. They cast the famous old actors in those supporting roles.
Mhm.
They often give the main role to someone who's up and coming. So
mm.
yeah, I
yeah.
think it could be, particularly if they're going for this late 20s, early
Yeah.
30s age group.
I think that is potentially likely. And probably, in our Bond groups, we get lots of, like Glenn Powell will be Felix. And, I don't think it'll be that level, but there is potentially now more of a chance that they will get, especially if, like you say, they get a less famous actor as Bond, they might get a couple of, someone pretty famous as M. I don't think they'll get a TV actor as M.
Yeah,
So yeah, I think they might go down that road. I think there'll be a really strong cast for it because I think they'll
Yeah.
want this to be like a massive, massive event. And if you've got really strong, famous actors in supporting roles and a
yeah,
big ensemble, I think that really helps you.
I wonder whether Amazon's mindset will be that because this is their project, they do want to be responsible for discovering someone, giving us a James Bond that we hadn't pictured before, kind of, if that makes sense. But sorry,
yeah.
Rob, I know you were wanting to, or are you?
No, I was just I think this is another the word choices that are being used are really important here. I think Nina Gold is actually signposted here what they not maybe what they've already agreed upon or
Mm.
what they're going for, and it rules out an awful lot. So I think if you look at someone who is going to do 3 or 4 movies, they have to be of a certain age,
Yeah.
unless they're going to be. The plan is, say for example, right, Cavill's 43, isn't he? If you're going to do 3 or 4 movies, I'd like to think that they're going to, once they've got these moving parts in place, they're going to do those every 2 years, every 3 years at the max.
Yeah.
That's what I'd like to think, which will take Cavill into his early, 51. Well, that's well in the wheelhouse of most, present day movie stars to still be
Yeah.
playing action heroes that look the part and carry it. So I still think Cabell's on the table. He also fits that bill, as do a number of the other people, when she said the phrase sex appeal.
Yeah.
You have to carry, what did you say? Ooze sex
Oozes
appeal.
sex appeal, yeah.
That's quite significant for me because it rules out an awful lot of people.
I was just going to say,
that might betray my taste.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
that's subjective, though, isn't it?
It is totally subjective.
Yes.
But I think that
well,
people,
I don't think anyone surely would say that Tom Holland oozes sex appeal.
Yeah.
I
that's
really
what I
don't.
mean.
I
Fair
don't
enough.
think that
And
would.
Callum
Chalamet.
Turner.
Yeah,
Obviously,
I think people like
I
Callum.
think they do. Yeah. So I think actually going
He's
off
not been in a
that-
role like that, has he? Like a Wuthering Heights role, has he? He's not been a Heathcliff or anything.
No, but I think this is So I think for me, when you say ooze sex appeal, you ooze. You are sorry, you don't ooze. I'm going to stop using the phrase ooze. It's gross.
Secret of the
Secret of the oozing.
Yeah, secret of the oozing sex appeal. Ugh.
Next episode,
you
Secret
will
of the
be.
Oozing.
Yeah, you will be. They'll be tall. I think they'll be tall. They'll be extremely athletic. Because that's what the common,
Yeah.
suggestion of being, of sex appeal is. And there will be a certain look about them of a movie star, and I think that's what I think that means for me that we're going to either be Cavill, Turner, Taylor Johnson, or who's the fourth one? Elordi.
Lordy.
Yeah.
I think we're one of those four. Because I think all four of those do fit that category.
Is it 2 or 3 years, Rob, since you went on the BBC to announce that?
Oh, it's useless.
Johnson was,
never
was cast,
invited back because I said there was no news.
Yeah, no.
There was.
Well, you were right,
here.
because that was all way before all this all happened.
Oh, it's useless. Absolutely useless, but they couldn't handle the truth.
Well, do you think the names we're hearing are names that have had conversations, certainly with producers, maybe?
The suggestion is that Jacob Elordi's met Villeneuve. That's something you hear a little bit.
I think it's all down to what they want Bond to do in the story.
Yeah.
So I agree. I do agree that Cavill could still do 3 or 4 films, but I get the impression you might get something of an origin story or some kind of young Bond growing, and on that basis, I'm not sure Cavill is in there thinking in that, because if you go in for that, I think he probably does go. He's portraying young Bond as other people to go with that. But I think the other names that have been mentioned, and I think Cavill will be discussed around it, but I think the other names that have been mentioned, yes, I think they are the primary ones that they are thinking about.
In terms of age being talked about, I know that Barbara and Michael talked about a certain age when they were thinking about Bond 26.
Yeah.
Have the Amazon MGM producers talked about an age? Just trying to think. There's this suggestion that they want to make 3 or 4, someone who's going to be here for 3 or 4. I don't know if they've necessarily specifically mentioned an age like Michael G. Wilson and Barbara Broccoli did. I might be wrong.
I don't think so. I think it's only Nina who has.
It is Nina Gold, yeah.
And kind of speaking of age, one thing that often we don't do when thinking about who they're going to cast as Bond is think about the other Bond actors that we've had and whether you look to them as reference points. And obviously, we always talk about who's our favourite Bond. We compare them and we kind of think who is our peak Bond and all that, and they all have the different qualities. I don't know if looking back on those actors will play any part. As in, will it be we want you to be this kind? You want you to be a Connery kind, or we want you to be a Craig kind, or will it be we want you to be like none of them? We want you to be like nothing we've seen before, kind of. And that got me thinking about if I were to reference one actor who I would probably want them to be like, and I know this sounds quite strange in a way, but and it kind of backs up what Nina Gold said. Not maybe a different portrayal, but in many ways, Pierce Brosnan you cannot top in terms of oozing sex appeal. I don't think anyone would argue with that. It's not controversial. And the other thing is, and this is quite an important one, I think if we're looking for someone who's going to be around for quite a few multiple adventures, all the other actors have kind of been criticised for their aging, apart from Dalton and Lazenby for obvious reasons, but like Moore, Connery, Craig, they didn't age noticed. I think we would need someone who has that enough youth on their side, I think, to age well. So I'm not saying they should be like Pierce Brosnan, but I do think the casting of Pierce Brosnan was pretty perfect if you're looking for sex appeal and longevity and maintaining your looks and kind of that side of things.
Just so I don't want to contradict that, because I think I'd go for.
Well, you can.
There's been an article released today, actually, from Stephen Knight has been talking to Screen Daily, and he's been going on about how he's been doing a lot of research on in terms of
SAS, is it?
SAS and the special boat service, the SBS.
Knows about it.
Well, and he's been talking about how Bond's a bit of a rough diamond and this kind of thing. And they asked the question over the past 60 years, who has had the strongest influence on,
Yeah.
and he outright said Connery. Now, that might not be necessarily how he's writing the character of Bond. It might just be his, Connery's his favourite. But when you think of how they're writing a character, I wonder if they're thinking more of a Connery kind of.
I mean,
You didn't
please.
say Craig.
And let's be quite frank, Connery oozes sex appeal.
Oh yeah,
Yeah. I mean, people talk about, when they cast as Bond, and like they'll think about, Connery being their favourite, and they always hark back, and as fans we always hark back to Connery. But I think it's right to just dwell on the qualities of Connery in terms of, sex appeal, like you mentioned, but also a very handy fighter, and all just those qualities that he had. If they could find someone like that, my goodness me. I mean, I don't know if someone, he is so good. I don't know if you could ever find someone to match him, but he's certainly, surely no one could argue if they're looking for that kind of Bond.
You're right. Even that sounds basic the first time you hear it, doesn't it? But then no, actually, that's that's going back 60 years now, isn't it? It's quite a fresh old take.
It's,
But
it's as ambitious as you can get.
100% there'll be, Villeneuve next to whoever's the Bond. Like, he isn't Sean, he isn't Daniel,
Yeah.
he's so and so, and he is going to give you a new J. That's what's going to be said. I'm telling you.
Yeah, but I think, and again, this isn't sort of Craig bashing per se, but I'd be very surprised if it was a 5'10"
Yeah.
blonde with blue. I don't think. I don't think they would do that. Eon were in more of a position to do that because they were like, right, we're going in a bit of a different direction.
They had something to prove, didn't they?
Yeah. So I think Connery. Yeah, it makes sense that they would look to not like you're never going to get an exact copy of Sean Connery.
Yeah.
Goodness me, but just someone, who has that sex appeal and that presence and that absolute charisma.
I think, like you just said there, Matt, and we've talked about it before. Like when they chose Daniel Craig, I think it was a bit because they wanted to show something different. They wanted to, and I'm certain we've talked about this on previous episodes, but I don't think Amazon MGM have that same viewpoint. They want to make the biggest and best James Bond film that's unanimously. They're not looking to make a statement. They're not looking to, kind of come up with an alternate take that might veer away from your traditional views.
Yeah.
Necessarily. They want everyone in. They want everyone to buy in, don't they? So I can't think they're going to do something that kind of subverts expectations like Daniel Craig did. I do think they'll be looking for someone more classical in Connery if they can. If that's what Stephen Knight's writing, just with a little bit of Connery in mind, then whew,
Yes.
wow.
You could argue though that the casting of James Bond hasn't been as revolutionary as people think it is, because when they did do the revolutionary one to take over Sean with George, that is just unheard of. He literally was unheard of. But up until then, Roger was so famous as a TV star. He was always touted for Bond. Ian Fleming had said he wouldn't mind him being Bond. Timothy Dalton auditioned for On Majesty's Secret Service, so he was in the mix. Pierce Brosnan he'd already been signed up in the 80s. They were all names on the radar. So Daniel Craig's the first one you could argue since Lazenby where he had absolutely no history or affinity, or no one was talking about him particularly. And that's slightly different now because there's been this massive gap where there's been no Bond. So everyone's going to have had a name, their name mentioned over the years. Yes, Henry Cavill, if it was still Eon, he'd have that link, wouldn't he, in that history. And, you've got Martin Campbell saying, oh, gosh, yeah, he would have been a brilliant Bond. Because they don't have that history anymore, they don't have to sort of say, right, all right, well, he's ready now. They've absolutely a blank canvas, so that phrase has come up a lot today. Even if Aaron Taylor-Johnson was in advanced talks, that doesn't mean anything anymore. But it also doesn't mean he has been ruled out. I think it's the scariest period, Harry. This for me. This is the really the worrying period. If it is someone who, again, doesn't look traditionally like Bond in your head, it's gonna be a struggle until we see him in action, isn't it? Because growing up, with when Pierce was cast, like I keep saying, no one even said anything negative about that casting. But if
No.
you choose someone who is slightly divisive, where, oh yeah, I think he uses sex appeal, and then other people know, oh dear me, no way.
Yeah.
That's when it becomes difficult, and yeah. But I suppose people will say that about Jacob Elordi. They'll say it about
Yeah.
Timothy Chalamet. You
Yeah.
can't win with everybody.
No.
Whoever they cast will come under some scrutiny.
Oh yeah,
I agree, Tom. I think I'm a bit scared, and I'm because there's a chance it will be someone I don't like, and I'm going to have to grow up a bit and get like get on board with it and not be like you know protesting or obstructive.
creating websites. Yeah,
But
no.
I said before about like Josh Brolin. Everyone else, the rest of the cast, I think, is well exciting and it's stuff. This
Yeah,
is a bit
yeah.
scary
Yeah.
because it's such a big thing. But I really do feel whoever it is, I and we have got to try and get behind them.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's two sides to who they cast as well, because obviously we're thinking about who will make a great James Bond, who will look the part, and all that. But I think perhaps in recent history, we're looking for someone, we're thinking about how they'll behave off the screen as
Yeah,
well.
yeah.
In terms of we're looking for
Yeah,
a person who won't be too cool to play Bond. We're looking for someone who is
uh,
absolutely elated. I mean, for me, that could win over us. If there's someone who I don't think they look the part, or it's not who I expected, and yet they talk unbelievably positively and really excited, then they will have won me over
Yeah.
almost fully with how they
I,
are in person, off the camera.
I've said before. I think the days of a star in a massive part saying they're not that into it or they hadn't watched it much or that they don't it weighs heavy or anything like that. I think those days are gone. Anyone, whoever they cast, will be really positive. I think they'll be positive about Daniel Craig. I think they'll be positive about the whole series. They'll be saying what a special, what an
Yeah.
amazing privilege it is. And I don't think you'll hear them in the media bemoaning the fact that they're this part all the time that they're doing it. I just don't think that happens anymore. It should never have happened, but
Yeah.
I, I I don't think Amazon had ever let it happen.
no.
No,
Mm.
no.
How could they? Like we bought this thing for however much they bought it for.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
hang on, we've given you the right. You don't talk bad about it,
No,
dear,
exactly.
dear.
I just don't think so.
Well, for
On
you
the
guys,
ca-
does that not? Oh, go on, John. Sorry.
No, sorry, it's a bit of a different point, but on the casting of it, I really feel that a lot of the speculation on the female lead role, I think that these really obvious names like Sydney Sweeney or Zendaya, whatever, I actually think they could happen.
Yeah, yeah,
Mm.
absolutely. Absolutely.
Because if you're going to go for a younger person, a younger Bond, if you're going to go down that route, you need
Yeah.
someone who's age appropriate with them, and they are like the big thing at that in this
Yeah.
moment in time. And I do think if you're going to have someone a bit less heard of as the Bond, you're going to have star names around them.
Yeah.
So I do think there may be something in.
Uh,
I mean, I can't believe we're going to have Jacob Elordi and Sydney Sweeney just
Lorenzo's going to be
Yeah.
loving it, isn't he? Yeah.
but I think there may be something in those names.
I think you're right. And strangely, I think, it's quite hard to get people to the cinema. And like, I think people will go to this. But like, if you put Zendaya in there or maybe lesser extent, maybe Sydney Sweet, like, the girls will go and watch
Yeah,
this film.
yeah.
Yeah.
Girls, yeah.
Like, so there is something in that, I think, John. I've forgotten her name now. It was in Corrie. Michelle.
Keegan.
Michelle Keegan. I think
Oh,
that's, a bit less likely.
Who said
No.
that?
I don't know. I saw it. I think maybe Lorenzo might have said it, but I think you're right there, John. I think it's a really good point.
They'll also be thinking about slightly when you're talking about those other characters, how many films they would be in. So if it was Felix, for example, they'd be looking for someone who can keep being Felix, wouldn't they? The thing with Bond girls is, up till now, they've never quite gone for complete star power on Bond girls.
No.
Halle Berry maybe was the biggest, would you say?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's always because maybe they were only ever going to be in one film, kind of. If they were to cast someone like these Zendayas or Sydney Sweeney's, that might be with a view to them appearing a few times in a few different films. That's another consideration.
Yeah, I think modern audiences actually, you're right. They would expect them. They wouldn't expect Zendaya or Sydney Sweeney to be one and done.
I've just thought in my head, I can picture like Olivia Colman being named as M. That's just come in my head.
Because of Night Manager.
Very nice.
Yeah,
manager.
it is, but it would be quite good in that it would. She could have a lot of banter with Bond, couldn't she?
Yeah.
And Ray Fiennes was a man, so they can go back to a woman. So.
Yeah.
I agree with you. Going back to the casting of Bond, this is so big. This is the biggest. Obviously, Villeneuve is huge. Stephen Knight is big, and that.
Yeah.
But this is the vision, isn't it? Who they cast as Bond is who people are going to be thinking of, seeing on the posters. This is going to be the person that carries James Bond into this new era, and it is absolutely massive what they look like. And like you've said, that does, come with a little bit of trepidation and being worried about who is this person that we're going to see lots of now, and because we're going to see so much of them. I really want to like them. I really want to get behind them.
Yeah.
And I agree with that. But you've kind of comforted me by saying it's maybe I knew it all along, but you guys saying it, in terms of they will behave and they will be up for being Bond. Like you said, John, I don't think Amazon, having poured all this into what they've got, will settle for someone who is begrudging or someone who honestly, for me, that will make such a difference.
Yeah, of course.
So I'm now thinking, if it is someone that I'm not completely sold on, I do have some confidence that it's going to be done with absolute highest regard for playing James Bond 007, and it is an esteemed role that this person is going to be, extremely positive about. So that does fill me. Those fears that I have, and I do have them, that helps for me. That definitely helps for me. That it's going to be an era where no, we are only positive about Bond. This is massive. We are doing this well. Everyone is on board. We're doing this well.
I agree. I think like in general, you don't have to be the world's most incredible actor to be James Bond. You need to have a ton of charisma. You need to be able to act, but you need to be a good ambassador.
Yeah.
That's what you need. You need someone who will just be proud to be James Bond, and you will get people behind you. That's the biggest thing for me.
Yeah, I think that's what I'm concluding as well.
Yeah.
Tom Francis is that man.
But yeah, I mean, we could, there really are so many names thrown out there, and there'll be new ones, and it's kind of that thing of the more a person's put forward, the less likely it is to be them. We don't know who it's going to be, and in some way that's exciting, and that's how it's always been, really, apart from, the ones where like Pierce Brosnan and Timothy Dalton have been linked before, and, but we don't know. I don't think it's useful for us to go through these actors who it could be. There's no need for us to say what we think they would be like if we're not sure.
Are people okay with them not being English? Is another one.
The most of the list. So going through the list of people linked, they're all British pretty much, apart from Jacob Elordi. So I don't know if that's like a non-negotiable for people. But what would you guys say?
Just want them to be a good ambassador and enjoy the role.
Oh,
That's it.
Yeah.
And that's all. Seriously, and be really, proud to do it. So that I would want to. Gosh, he's cool. That's what I want to get back. Whoever can embody that for me. Bring back James Bond. That's
Yeah.
what I want.
Yeah.
Just in terms of the English thing, I do sort of understand it, or British, but we've been quite happy for British actors to take lots of American, roles, and Henry Cavill. I
Yeah.
don't, you don't
The
hear
ultimate
American
American
audiences, criticizing the fact that he was Superman, and he really
Mm.
embraced that and really, championed that. So I don't think that wouldn't be a problem for me. I can understand the man on top of the Clapham omnibus being not as keen on that happening, but I think we'd be able to get over that.
Call
Go on,
me a
Fran.
start raving nationalist, but I would say that I have no problem with them being Australian. But there's something in me that I would struggle with an American Bond,
Mm,
and I think it's because like Bond is the British, it's the jewel in the crown of British
yeah,
cinema, and I do feel like there's something in it that wants to keep it part of at least the Commonwealth. You know what I mean?
yeah,
I was waiting for that
Empire.
word.
Oh, you know what I was going to say, didn't you?
Commonwealth,
I,
modern world.
I know
No,
what
no,
you mean. I
I
know
do.
what you
Yeah,
mean.
yeah. And
English
also, when you
people are
think
more
about
precious about that than Americans are about
yeah,
Superman, aren't they?
and when you think about the dynamic of CIA, like working with the CIA,
Yeah,
and
Yeah,
it
yeah.
is a case of Britain and America working together, kind of, or sometimes at odds with
yeah,
each other. They are throughout the James Bond stories. It is Britain and America. Australia doesn't feature so much, so that can subtly get in there. I agree. I agree with you, John. I understand that point.
mm,
In terms of the people involved, we're just continuing where we left off, aren't we? Half American, half English.
Yeah, the producers.
Yeah, and Stephen Knight's English. Is Villeneuve Canadian?
yeah.
Yeah, that's the biggest twist. That is.
French Canadian,
Yeah.
Canadian, I think, Major.
The 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 era that it's set in, would that affect some of your casting? So, like, what one of the name? Like when you think of like it being set in the, in the Cold War, or going back to the 50s and 60s, which is possible or whatever. If that happens, I therefore struggle to imagine Bond being hench and being built. I picture them being. I don't know if this is just my assumption of that period of time, but
Rogue Hero.
bodybuilding and being sculpted in that kind of way, that would be like anachronistic of
Anachronistic,
that
yeah.
time. So I don't, that there's a guy who's been touted called Louis Partridge. I don't know if you've heard his name. Yeah, quite a funny name. Let me check if I've got that right. Yeah, Louis Partridge, and I looked him up. He looks young and very baby-faced, and not who I'd instantly go to, but he would suit that 50s, 60s era more than, Cavill might, for example.
Yeah.
So I do think the period that it's set in could dictate the look that you're getting as well.
That would be far worse for me if it was set not now than whoever was Bond. So that's sorry to say that. I don't think it will be. I think it will be in present day. But gosh,
I could probably come to terms with it being set in the past. I'd have to.
well, they have to, won't
think.
we? Yeah.
Yeah, no, but I don't think it's something. It'd be something that I'd think. Right, I think it's quite interesting, and you'd get a good look from it. It'd look like it'd have like the hallmarks of Bond, but you would obviously have concerns about how you advance it and how you use gadgets, and placing it in time is a bit limiting as well. But I think there would be some positives to it embracing that period of time, definitely, that I would be able to find.
I think,
It's a heck of a move. Sorry, Nath.
yeah,
So
yeah,
risky,
no,
yeah.
it's really risky, and like you say, where does it go? So if the first film's set in like 62, and then we're every few, so we're then into the 70s and stuff, and it seems like a strange way to go,
Brown.
unless it's just constantly in the 50s and 60s, like the books. But then you've got to come up with new stories set in that period, which I know
Yeah,
some of the other novels have done. But
it'd
I
become
think
like
that I
Midsummer
think
Murders for strange that so many things happen in such a small
yeah,
period of
I
time. And
It won't bring you Zendayas and their female fans in. I don't think that
no,
this film.
Mm.
no, I think
I'm
it's
just a
unlikely.
marketing executive. I don't know. I'm just saying it like that.
No, I understand. I think, but like the point I'm making is I think it could influence the look that you get of Bond.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like the biggest, there's Henry Cavill and another actor who's been touted who also seems to be pretty big and he isn't massive in what I've seen. Aaron Pierre, he is absolutely massive and stacked. For me, that wouldn't fit with that. He would fit as a modern Bond. I mean, you guys, what names have are you being drawn to, or any names that's prompting a reaction out of you, positive or negative?
I've got to the point where any of the four that Rob mentioned, I'd be all right with. The one I struggled with the most was Callum Turner.
yeah.
But you might not be happy with me here, but it's ever since I've seen this James Bond in First Light and Patrick Gibson not wearing the tuxedo, but wearing like the
Leather jacket.
casual clothes and that kind of thing.
Oh,
All of a sudden, I think actually I could see Callum Turner doing that, even though I couldn't see him in a tuxedo. If I had to rank them in terms of where I'd go Turner, Johnson, Cavill, Elordi. Cavill would be naturally my most favourite, but I just don't think it's going to happen personally. So
Mm.
that's my.
Hmm.
I'd go Elordi first. I've been flying this like underdog radar one, and it never gets any mention, and never going to happen. But
Daniel Radcliffe.
Corey Milcreast, mate. Corey
Who?
Milcreast should be in. He should.
who?
Corey Milcreast, who does all these like
Oh
little,
yeah, yeah,
and he just looks the part.
Was he
And
the one in that Netflix?
yes,
My Oxford
yeah.
Year.
yeah, and I just think, I mean,
How am I spelling this? Corey.
Corey
Oh, yeah.
Mhll.
Oh, blimey, yeah.
I just think
Rob
he
Soul,
looks.
I reckon.
I think. I mean, he's been sporting some absolutely appalling haircuts recently, but I do feel that like somebody like that looks the kind of thing that I want James Bond to look like, if nothing else. That kind of
Yeah,
tall, dark, handsome kind of guy, and he's in that age group.
Hmm.
Never going to happen. But um, yeah, but again, he looks a bit like a Lordy. And I think in terms of me, I think that's what I want. I just want to go back to a really dark, handsome, tall James Bond.
If we're using Rob's four names as a as a basis to go off, I'm sorry to say I can't see Cavill being in even in the running. I, I would love for him dearly, and if he was, I would be absolutely cock a hoop. But I don't think it will happen.
No.
Um,
I don't.
I think Elordi could happen. I think it would fit the vision I've got in my mind of what a Villeneuve, Bond might look like. And the same with Callum Turner. I can see his appeal. I don't find him that like I say, I was talking about Pierce Brosnan before. He's not a Pierce Brosnan kind of looker, but he is. I can see the certain appeal of him. Um, so I'd go with Elordi, and then who I just said, Callum Turner.
ATJ.
I think he's out of it. I don't think he's. I think that was for a period of time, and it's gone. And I think even rightly or wrongly, I think even the fact that he was so at the forefront might have done him over. Like,
Mm.
um, so I don't think it's him. And then there are other names like this Harris Dickinson, who, again, it's kind of this tall, skinny. A lot of these seem to be quite tall and skinny. I've
Yeah,
only
yeah,
seen him in Iron Claw, and he's in that with some other, fairly handsome men. But for me, he was like the least handsome.
yeah.
So I don't, I can't. His name though is quite, it's out there, so I wouldn't be surprised. I'm trying to think of it. Let me look. If
Theo
I just,
James was mentioned, wasn't he? But I
I would
just
have
can't picture Villeneuve casting somebody
that
like
the
that.
thing.
Nah.
Do you know what? There's something about him that he is so affable, likable,
Yeah, yeah.
and he has a really friendly, handsome look.
A bit
I
like
would want,
Cavill in some
yeah, I
respects.
want him to be
Mm.
cast on those strengths because of that, but I don't think he has quite the star power or the mist, like the dark edge. Sadly, there was
Yeah,
a time where I was really up for him. Jack Loudon's someone who's got mentioned. I've seen him in two or three things, and he's been excellent. really
Mhm.
good.
I think his time's come and gone. Personally, I think he'll be too old maybe now.
Yeah. I
Um,
don't think he uses sex appeal either. I like
No.
that's right. Yeah.
He's really crisp, and he's
Yeah.
good in. It's. I think he was also linked because of Slow Horses. He was like a spy in that.
Yeah.
But,
Can I just say,
and he's good.
sorry,
He's good in that. But I don't think
No.
it'll be him.
Can I just say, sorry, in terms of the quote on who's his sex appeal, and I should have spoken about this at the time, but shout out to our documentary that Tom's put out about Timothy Dalton at the moment, if you're able to go and watch it, because he is such an interesting actor and person to play Bond, and it made me realise what it is. Like, obviously, Timothy Dalton is absolutely incredible looking, but one of the things that makes him an attractive Bond, and I wish I'd been able to articulate this in my video when I contributed, but one of the things that makes him really appealing about Bond is how passionate about the job he is, how determined he is to be a good agent. And I think it's like a fairly common known thing that people are, when you see someone really passionate about what they do, that elevates how attractive they are, kind of.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm talking worldly here, not just in films, as in when you see someone who's all about what they're doing,
Yeah.
then it raises their levels of attraction. So when you look at someone like Jack Loudon, it might be that he doesn't ooze sex appeal, but if you saw that he was absolutely committed, then you never, you know, do you know what I mean? And sorry, this goes against it a bit. Like when you think of Tom Cruise as Ethan Hunt, obviously Tom Cruise is an extremely good-looking, handsome guy, but his commitment to being Ethan Hunt is what makes him
Yeah. Yeah.
appealing and attractive, isn't it? It's like he will run to save the day.
Yeah.
So people like Jack Loudon who are kind of on the fence, if they portray James Bond in the right way, every woman or a man or whatever could find like I am in love with that guy.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Whether that's sex appeal though. Sorry, yeah. So those I don't know if I could conclude names, and I don't know if Jacob Elordi, sorry, is getting close to that Aaron Taylor Johnson thing where he's been talked about so much that I'm not sure it could be him. Do you know what I mean? I don't know, or if that's just a silly rule that doesn't need to be obeyed.
What about Guy Remmers?
Let's look him
Is that
up.
something Fran's been calling people? Or
Guy Remmers.
No, I've just gone
Craig
down there.
Remmers.
He's not bad actually, Rob.
No, he isn't.
Yeah, I've just gone down a little rabbit hole, like, and who looks like they could do the do,
30 years
He's
old.
amazing. Why did he come up?
Oh, I just again like he was at the bottom of the page next to so I'd looked at Jack Loudon, and then like people also search for Guy Remmers, and I clicked on it.
Bit of a Dalton about him.
Yeah, my
There
word.
it is, yeah.
Can he act?
A young Dalton.
Him in one TV.
Yeah.
Him in the
Perfect.
bottom.
If we're going like what's the word unknown.
Yeah,
a
you're right.
complete unknown.
But even if it's not him,
Yeah.
that people like Guy Remmers, that proves to us that there are people out there we don't know. As
Yeah,
in,
I hope so.
we've only
Yeah.
just heard of
Yeah,
Guy
exactly,
Remmers.
yeah.
There are, but I just feel for this a bit like John. I think it will be someone that I think that'll be a risk.
Do you think it'll be though? Villeneuve was a name that was. I mean, I don't know why he was always
He's the big
associated
name.
with it, but he was, and then he got it. Whereas Stephen Knight, it's staring us all in the face, but no one ever thought of it. So it's
Yeah.
it could be one or the other. I'd like it to be one of either someone. Obviously, Cavill would still be my first choice. It's so glaringly obvious. Let's just get on with it. It's just when it's someone who I'm not so sure about them and I know them. I'd rather it be someone who I've not seen an awful lot of. But that's a luxury that
You've no preconceptions about it.
yeah. And of course, a lot of them have never done a role like Bond, so you can't. That's exciting because you'll see them in a different light as well.
First light.
First light, yeah.
There was also that guy who we were talking a bit ago now, but was it Thomas Doherty? Because he looked just like Sean Connery.
Oh yeah.
Remember him?
I can't remember that name, but I remember some story.
Thomas Doherty.
Yeah.
Thomas Doherty, and he looked, honestly, it was frightening how much he looked like Sean Connery at that age.
I do, yeah.
There was
I know.
loads. Like, I mean, he's not in the running or anything
We
like
don't
that.
know.
Well, no, you
Well,
don't.
he's 31, 6 foot, Scottish.
He does look
He
so.
looks good, doesn't he? My word.
He looks the part.
They want to go back to Connery.
He looks the jolly part, this guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, live.
Oh,
Yeah.
3.7 million followers, dear. So he's already got,
yeah.
Wow.
Because of his
I
looks.
love how, discovered loads of new names tonight.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
excited.
Yeah.
As I've kind of said, and I'm talking to myself as much as anything, I think we should embrace this and not see it as, like I say, I'm talking to myself like, oh no, they've done, like I'm really worried about who it's going to be. And, this is
Hmm.
exciting that there's a new James Bond
Oh,
being cast you know, and whoever it is, I'm confident that this is going to be a really good, exciting era and someone who we can get behind and who will embrace it and who will be the seventh James Bond actor and,
Absolutely.
for a few years to come.
It's
And
amazing, isn't it? It's one of those stats where more men have walked on the moon than have been James Bond. I might be wrong about that, but
yeah, no,
it's
it
a
wouldn't.
crazy privilege, isn't it, to be James Bond? And this is the most pressured casting of Bond there's ever been, you could say. And yes, of course, taking over Connery was massive, but they had the luxury of, oh, we can just do the next one again, so they at least have this as a backup. Now that it's a new era, new producers, new director, new vision of Bond, it's a complete unknown, and it's a new world that they're introducing him into in terms of streaming,
Hmm.
things like that, and
mm.
social media.
Yeah,
So there's a lot at stake. So far, though, I keep saying this: the people involved are it's experience, not hot
Yeah.
young writers, hot young directors.
yeah,
These are people who've been there, done that,
True.
get on with it, and know exactly what they're doing. But of course, they do bring on young talent as well. So
Yeah.
all the pieces are in place at the moment. We just need to have faith that they're going to get the right man. It's a given it's a man, isn't it? And that was a previous topic, wasn't it? I think Barbara though shut that one down, didn't she? She did say it would have to be a man. But anyway, I do think this is going to be it's going to be announced by the end of the year, is my prediction. That's a bit of a conservative, easy bet to make, isn't it? But the wait has been going on so long, you never know. But it's that fact that we've all said across the episode that the fact that they're announcing casting directors only do that when you're very late in the casting process or finished in the casting process.
Hmm.
So it's all about when do we announce it. Like the City judgment has already been the Man City judgment, but for some reason they won't announce it for months and months. It's not going to
Yeah, I mean, we are, even though we don't know exactly what's happening, and we're being kept in the dark about so much as we should be. It's a really exciting time to be Bond fans. But this is, I mean, even when this statement came out, there was some kind of a mixture of response in terms of excitement or, where not knowing where we're up to.
Hmm.
I think this, as exciting as this appointment of James Bond, is the first one where they won't want to get it wrong,
No.
and yet there'll always be haters. There will be opposition, and John said it earlier on in our recording about winning over Bond fans is possibly the
Yeah.
hardest
Yeah, yeah.
job to do. And,
Mm.
and and Matt's kind of said, I think we do need to just kind of have that attitude of wanting to give everything a fair go, and sometimes it's dangerous to have preconceptions about how things should be done and what should happen, what they should look like. So it is a moment that when they cast Bond, that is a moment that will forever change the how Bond looks for the next 2 decades probably. So it's a huge call that we so desperately want them to get. I would appeal to Bond fans to kind of not immediately come up with your opinion on this actor as James Bond, because even when they've cast them, we've not seen them as James Bond. We've not seen the film. We've not seen any of that. So, and like Matt, kind of talking to ourselves as much as anyone, we've just got to kind of in this new era, have a much more open mind about the directions things could go in. But I think it all comes back for me to, and maybe this is controversial for some Bond fans, I really believe in what Amazon MGM are doing. I believe that this is their prized possession. They obviously want to make lots of money. They want it to be an outright success at the cinema. They've said that, but I think they want to have their stamp of quality on it as well. I don't think they're just wanting to make money. I think they want to do. You've seen with the appointments they've made so far that this is not just a money maker. This is something that's going to be massive and well received. And I think they'll want their Bond actor to represent those same ambitions. So that gives me enormous comfort. But this is just us in a room talking about it at this moment in time. There are developments every day, rumours thrown around on social media, new actors that you'd never heard of before being put in front of you that you've suddenly got to assess. Listeners and viewers, please, please, please do share your opinions. We've mentioned people tonight when we've been recording, and you're seeing names fly around on social media. Do comment, do post, and share your thoughts. It might not just be your thoughts on who should be Bond, but your thoughts on how you're feeling about this. Because tonight we've talked about, and Matt revealed that he was quite scared during this recording, and that's very open and honest. It's a big moment that could fill you with worry and fear. So not in a way of just wanting to be critical. This is a big moment, so just do comment, share with us, engage with what you're thinking about this pivotal moment in the franchise's history. And I think, as we've concluded, it's probably close to, if not already, a done deal anyway. So things are happening without our say so, and we've just got to embrace that. And I don't know if you guys have any other final thoughts at all going in, but I think we're still riding a very exciting journey here at the moment, aren't we, guys?
This is exciting, and I know I'm scared and everything, but for our children, our nieces and nephews, this is probably going to be their Bond, or it's like a new generation's Bond, and that is surely exciting.
Let's be positive.
Absolutely.
Okay, guys. Well, thank you so much. And this was episode 12. Who knows what episode 13 could be? Who knows? And we hope you keep tuning in and following the progress of Bond 26. See you later, folks.
See you later.
See you later.